Devi, Sankaree, Govender. You must get the best service of anybody. You and Derek and everybody must get the best service. Do you ever walk into a place and then their behavior changes?
Yeah, they either run away, especially car dealerships. So the one day I went in because one of the lights on my car went on. So I thought I was driving past the dealership. I thought, let me just stop. But it's not a dealership I've been to before. As I walked in, people were walking backwards. I'm like, guys, I actually need some help here. And in terms of service, always fantastic service. The nicest seats, tables at restaurants. And I swear I get bigger portions.
Yes, South Africa. I love it. Please, can you take me to a restaurant one evening? I just want that kind of treatment once in my life. Just once in my life. What kind of food do you like?
Oh, I love food. Any kind of food. I love hot food.
You were posting about, what was it yesterday? You posted
porridge prayers. Yeah.
What is porridge prayers?
Porridge prayers is a South Indian tradition. So it was started off in India, and most South Africans do it here. We're South Indian descent, and then you make special kinds of food. So somebody dropped it off for me at the studio yesterday. I've never been so excited in such a long time.
Incredible.
Yeah, tasty food.
Do they call you a state witness?
The only time I've ever been called as a witness was when I got clapped. So I had to provide evidence there. But no.
I got called a state witness recently for an interview I did here on the show. It's very weird.
What did you do?
Well, I'll tell you just now. I think the case is still ongoing.
Oh, no, you can't
I don't know
tell.
if I mustn't say.
No, you mustn't say.
All right, thank you. Tell me about your husband.
Okay, so it is like that in my house. You can't. What do you want me to be somebody else when I go home?
Oh, man.
And things have to run like clockwork because of my work schedule is all over the place. So we have schedules for everything.
Oi.
I run it like an army camp.
Oi.
And I've got two very busy children. So they've got golf and debating and the usual stuff. It all has to be organized.
I want to give your husband a hug over the airwaves. Devi's husband, if you're listening this morning, this is the virtual hug that's happening right now. Keep those questions coming. We've got Devi, Govender from Blanche on the show this morning. On the serious stuff like corruption. I mean, when you start, you must get so many cases. How many emails do you get a day and requests?
I get between 20 and 30 emails per day, which you then have to refer to the Carte Blanche office because, you got to keep control of the stories coming in, who's doing what. And corruption, not just government, because it's not just government that's pulling the corruption handle here. It's corporate South Africa as well.
Of course. Well, as we know now.
As we know now as well. So you got to keep a lookout. And the difficulty is we can't do all the stories. And people sometimes are also quite misinformed about institutes that do exist that can help them.
There are other people, except for Carte Blanche.
And you'd probably get a faster reaction because putting a television program together doesn't happen in a matter of hours.
Who do you still want to interview? Who's your ultimate interview? The one person you're still dying to sit down with?
Putin.
Vladimir?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like quite a mythical, almost like untouchable.
Untouchable. I think I could soften him up though.
You think? How good is his English though?
Oh, no, we can make a plan. We make a plan every day that you can work around somehow or the other.
That's not going to stop you.
No.
Trump?
He'd be interesting, but, I'm not sure how much sense would come out of that.
Malema?
We've done Malema.
How do you feel about Julius?
I find Julius quite interesting because I do think you need people to try and initiate some kind of change. My concern, though, is how sustainable will that change be? That is it.
He makes some sweeping comments sometimes that are hurtful. I know he made a
100%
very hurtful comment about Indian people. I think he generalized, calling Indian people racist.
Yep.
How did you feel about that?
I don't buy into that stuff because even like on Twitter, you'll get the trolls and people saying things. The question is, are you going to dial into that or not? So I just choose not to dial in. I think it's not my reality. If it's yours, then shame.
The worst thing sometimes you can do in reaction is not to. Is just to ignore. Yep. Our new president, Cyril Ramaphosa.
I'm a great believer that people need to be given a chance.
Yeah.
So I don't like judging you based on past actions in another position. So I'm being very open-minded here, but I think Cyril does need to keep his hat on and try and figure out quite clearly which way are we going. Are we going to try and get more people to invest in South Africa, or are we going to start frightening people around land issues? And we do have to address the land issue. It's not even a debate. It has to be addressed. It's going to keep coming back otherwise.
You're going to start getting story requests about the land issues soon, surely. Already. People,
for months now.
Is it? People just going onto people's land, because that's how some people read the story. They hear things like expropriation without compensation. For some people, it means, well, okay, so I'm going to move in.
So when you're so dispossessed and you have nothing, and you hear a story and you want a roof above your head to call your own, some place to bring your children up.
Desperate times, desperate measures, right?
Exactly.
That's how it goes. Politics?
No. Straight answer.
It's
no.
a no. It's a no.
No. I've been offered a bribe. We're doing a story on a car dealership. And they had all these fancy sports cars. But you see, they were making them up from code 3s. So the front part of the car was the front part, and the back part was from another car.
Yes.
And then the guy said to me, he said, listen, Devi, choose any car you want off this floor. In my mind, I'm thinking, are you mull? I know those cars, you'll die in an accident with those cars.
Well,
so I turned him down very politely. I said, thanks, but no thanks.
I'm asking for a friend. What kind of cars were they? They're nice.
They were sporty, all kinds of cars, all kinds. It was second-hand car dealership, but one of those really fancy
You didn't
ones.
say it's a bribe. You just said have a car.
Well, what's that? What's that?
What do you call that? Just had an old car. If there was a naughty little old classic Merc there, I may have. Like, you know, just like, see, that's why carte Blanche is not me. I'm kidding. Do you ever eat together? Imagine you and everybody, the whole team. Do you ever go and sit in a restaurant and see what happens?
We did that. We had a meeting about 2 months ago. So everybody walked past the table, kept giving us those double looks. What's going on?
All of them at one table.
At one time, people came up to me to say, is everything okay?
Yeah. Like, which mate are we going to send over for this table, right? Yeah. So listen, what are you planning for? Are you having a big show to celebrate 30 years?
We're having a special show, and that will be on the 26th of August, the last Sunday of the month. Turning 30 is a big thing. And we're doing little summaries of some of the best stories that we've had, stories that have affected change in the country or brought about change in people's minds, because that's where it starts most. So we'll be looking at the investigative stories, my favorite, the catching crook stories, the happy stories, adventure stories, all kinds of stories. I think marking 30 years and 30 years of the fact that truth does bring change.
16 years you've been on the show. What is your favorite story on carte Blanche today?
I hate that question.
I know.
I hate it.
I know. I saved it for last.
My favorite story is perhaps the story where we caught the Hammanskraal cop taking a bribe of a sheep.
I remember that story so well.
Do you remember that?
I mean,
that's probably my favorite story. And we had the footage of him putting this little bleaty thing into the police cop car that emblazoned on the side. Hammanskraal Police. It was just classic TV. I love all my investigative and crook chasing stories. Those are my best.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, when I got clapped the first time. That's when I said, okay, my husband kept saying this was going to happen, and now that it's happened, you go big or you go home. So that was a big watershed for me.
I remember. Listen, thank you so much. It was absolutely cool hanging with you this morning.
Will you invite me back?
Please
because I would like to come back.
Please come back. In actual fact, when next I have the police minister of South Africa on the show, I'm going to invite you in as well.
No, I'm not doing your job.
No,
that's your job.
That guy was sidestepping me. I'm gonna do like, but wait. There's more, and then the lights come on, and then smoke from the door, and then you walk in, like right there. We can pay you, not much though, but maybe a sports car.
I do it better on TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, Devi, Sankaree, Govender, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, guys.
Jacaranda FM.